Hello, everybody. It's George from Ireland. So, welcome back to my channel. Anyway, the latest announcement from Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is, as is to be expected, completely asinine, economically illiterate. How could this come from someone who read philosophy, politics, and economics at Oxford University? But I suppose there's a political motivation behind it. So, he says he wants to restrict the number of international students coming to study at university in the United Kingdom. He's going to and tighten up the visa regulations. At the moment, they can take dependents, like a spouse, minor children with them, and often they get post-study work visas for 2 years, as I understand it. Now, it was already quite a rigmarole to get one of these student visas. Fill in all these forms, pay this money, blah, 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 have to apply months in advance. I'm told to get study in the United States is even trickier because one of my Mexican students told me she came to the UK rather than the USA because it was just such a faff to get one for the United States, where they seem to start from the presumption that you're Osama bin Laden. It's up to you to prove the other contrary. That from a country which believes in the presumption of innocence and indeed small government. So the United Kingdom's obviously got crazy government hyperactivity and just form filling up to here, just making work for endless bureaucrats and crushing people under the weight of this bureaucracy, strangling us with red tape. But international students are desperately needed by British universities because they bring in so much money. They pay fees which are double or treble those of home students. Now, being an international student in the United Kingdom is about where you lived for 3 years before you started university in the UK, not your nationality, where you lived. If you're British but you lived in Japan or Paraguay or something, you're an international student. A home student is if you lived in the United Kingdom for at least 3 years before you commence university. Even if you're a foreign citizen, if you lived in the United Kingdom, you're a home citizen. But anyway, 9 times out of 10, the home citizens are British citizens and the international students are non-British citizens. And obviously some of this has changed since Brexit because previously European Union students had to be treated as though they lived in the UK, even though they didn't. Yeah, that's why the UK universities are ever more reliant on students from overseas. It's one of the things that the United Kingdom has an excellent product to sell and is selling more and more of. Is one of the few actually quite rapidly growing sectors of the UK economy. Why on earth would you ruin that? I mean, it's insane. So they bring in money, and that's fantastic. And then some towns often base the economy, like Liverpool, around having 3 universities because these people then they're renting accommodation, they're spending money in bars and shops and all the rest of it. So they sometimes filled much needed gaps, skills gaps. So they work part time in various jobs. International students are allowed to work a number of hours per week in term time, more in the university holidays and so forth. So as for bringing your spouse or minor children, okay, perhaps that's too much, or even the post-study work visas. Now, the one thing is home fees are a maximum of £9,250 per annum, regardless of subject. Now, universities can charge less, as little as 6,000. They're not allowed to charge less than that, but up to 9,250, right? Now, governments have ignored these pleas. They've fallen on deaf ears for several years. The university is saying it's nowhere near enough. The fees have been frozen for almost a decade. And obviously, £9,250 in real terms is buying less and less, particularly the universities which provide a very thorough education, like Oxford University and Cambridge University, say it's nowhere near enough. We're making a loss on these home undergraduates. So to take more and more international students and more postgraduates, the postgraduate fees are higher and higher. They're like double the same fees for home or international students as an undergraduate. The most expensive degree I know of in the United Kingdom is the Masters of Business Administration at Oxford University. Guess how much that costs for 1 year? Come on, guess. Have you hazarded a guess? £79,000. Now, it doesn't cost that much to run the course, but that is a subvention to the loss-making parts of the university. Now, universities can offer tours, but only if you're a historic famous one, as a way to raise money, merchandising, selling caps and T-shirts and stuff like that, but probably not if you're like Glasgow Caledonian. You probably can't do that. What else? And just publishing their books. Right, their branches abroad in Malaysia or wherever to raise money. So This is a really imbecilic policy. The United Kingdom needs more international students, not fewer. And obviously, it's not quite as immigration. And the UK counts these international students in its immigration statistics. Most countries don't do that. It shouldn't do that because we think net immigration is like 400,000 a year in the UK. I mean, it's not. It's too high. But it's not that high. It's maybe more like 300,000 if you disregard the international students. Most of them come. They do hear their course 3 or 4 years max. They do work for 1 or 2 years more in some cases, and that's it. And the majority of them go home. Some of them stay permanently, fine. So we shouldn't confuse this with immigration. And of course, immigration has always gone on in every single country, unless you're somewhere hermetically sealed like North Korea. And I don't think you want to be like North Korea. And always shall go on. And obviously, it's a good thing up to a point. I know you can have too much of a good thing, it can become a bad thing, whether it's food or water or heat or anything. So, my immigration policy, I don't know what the magic number is. David Cameron said 100,000 per annum. He never got it down to below 200,000. What's about right? 200,000 might seem about right to me. But you've got to see what's the need. We need these many dentists and aircraft controllers and whatever, and cleaners and fruit pickers. But of course, as British people often refuse to do these jobs. So being on benefits is a career path. Got to say, no work, no money. You'll work or you'll starve. That's it. And stop saying that armies of people have to go to university. 55% of young people have to go to university. Most of them coming out 40,000 quid in debt. Some of them even less employable than they were when they went in. And say, yeah, that's it. More people to leave school at 16 and so on. The universities obviously add to the housing crisis. There's a lot of university accommodation only occupied half the year. And that's very wasteful. And one thing is, as undergraduates or even young adults are working, some of them are going to have to share bedrooms, even though they're not in a couple. And that's what they do in countries like Russia. So if you are a cleaner or a factory worker, a farm laborer, you're going to have 2 adults or 4 adults in the room with bunk beds. 4 men, 4 women. Okay, could be mixed groups. Men and women together, whatever. And that's going to make it affordable. But I would want more international students, not fewer. And the Labour government is almost certainly going to be ushered into office this winter, is going to face some very unenviable choices. Do you raise those fees, which is politically unacceptable? Do you cut student numbers? And we've been told you're a complete loser as you go to university, which is ridiculous. Or do you mean the universities have to provide less education? None of these are easy choices. More taxpayer funding in a very straitened budget, and people are fed up with this. So remember, in the United Kingdom, you don't pay the fees up front. You can attend university, pay it back afterwards, and the debt only goes up with inflation. It doesn't go up the commercial rate of interest. Therefore, it doesn't incentivize paying it off ahead of time, and it doesn't count against mortgage application. So what on earth are we going to do? Because if anything is not paid after 25 years is written off, but you only have to start paying back when you start at earning 25 grand, and it goes up and up what's automatically taken from your salary each month as you earn more and more. But so let's face it, we don't need armies of people going to university. We intellectualize everything. It's preposterous. Labour suggests they make it compulsory for estate agents to have degrees, which is ridiculous. So they're going to be more in debt. So they're going to have to charge people more to pay that off. So it's going to be even more expensive to buy a house. No, imbecilic. My estate agent, I don't give a damn whether he had a degree or not. Was he decent at doing it, whatever, selling me my place? Fine. Yeah. It's just neither here nor there. I'll be no happier. I would be happy to pay more just because he had a degree. And if having a degree really is a sine qua non, how come Angela Rayner doesn't have one? How come you can be an MP then? How can you be in the Labour cabinet? Was it wrong that John Prescott was allowed to be Deputy Prime Minister without a degree? Or loads of other people like James Callaghan or John Major? I mean, John Major admitted he was a nincompoop and totally over-promoted, put there precisely because he was uneducated. And that was somehow meant to be broaden the appeal of the Tory party, which showed what dire straits the Conservative Party was at the time, and shows what bad shape the Conservative and Unionist Party is now. That Sunak has to come up with this absolutely idiotic, self-destructive policy. So more international students, they are not a problem. They are the solution. Right. Thank you so much for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon and donate on PayPal. Goodbye, everyone.